In this video, we'll start by studying the theme object and some of its main features. We will also see the use of the color palette. Then, we will continue setting the themes in the Android and iOS platforms, and finally, we will learn how to set the images. As we know, in every screen we have controls, attributes or variables, and other controls like images, buttons, grids, and so on. Each control has its own customizable properties, which indicate, for example, label properties and visibility if enabled. But, in addition, each control has an associated class. In the class, other properties are specified, such as colors and the font to use, for example. The classes allow defining some aspects only once, to be able to apply them to many controls of the same type at the same time. As the look and general behavior of the app must be consistent and according to the guides of each platform, it's in the theme object, which contains all the predefined classes and those that we add, where we will do much of the design and behavior work to achieve the UI and UX the designers have determined. When we open the default theme for Android, we see that the application class has a set of properties grouped under the name Application Colors. This will allow defining the colors according to the material design criteria that we've seen. By default, these properties are pre-configured and are the ones we saw when we executed the application for the first time. The primary color is used for the application bar. The primary color dark is used in the status bar. And for example, the actions use the color action tint color. For iOS, the only property of the application colors group that is enabled is action tint color. This will be the color that the actions will assume. As developers, from the information sent to us by the graphic designer, we will modify or create classes and subclasses in the themes, which will then be used by the controls we insert in the layouts. Here we're seeing an example that we will reflect in our app. The class table track bullet and its subclasses, each one with a characteristic color of each track. Or the class attribute track title to show the names of the tracks. Or, for example, we can specify what controls of the Android app, of some of the types that are indicated, can have shading according to the value of the elevation property. In this way, we will be following the material design guidelines. Here, we see an image with the default value of the elevation property, that is to say, with no specification, with value 5, 10, and 20. In particular, in the Event Day app, we will use it in the table upcoming class to show certain contents, such as the list of keynote speakers that we see on the right. Designers usually define a color palette, and then apply that palette to the overall design. We can create a palette type object, define the colors in it, giving them a name, and then associate this palette with the Colors tab of the theme, to be able to use it later in the classes. This is not mandatory, but it's good practice not to have to always be entering color values in the classes, but to do it directly by name. Also, we could create several palettes and redefine the colors in each one, making the theme of each particular color independent. We said our apps for smart devices will be multi-platform. This is to say, we can create basically the same app, and we will do the least amount of work necessary to customize it, so that it runs on Android devices and iOS devices, following their design and behavior guidelines. In each knowledge base, we will have two themes already created, Carmine iOS and Carmine Android. By default, these themes are associated with the Android platform and another with the iOS platform. It'll be the same for the entire platform regardless if it's a phone or tablet, and of its size or resolution. However, we could create other themes to vary the design and general behavior depending on those dimensions. Let's see all of this in GeneXus. First, we can see that the KB has themes already created: GX28 Android 4 and GX28 iOS, as well as the color palette GX28 Color. We open the theme GX28 Android 4. In the Colors tab, in this color palette property, we can change and assign the color palette to a specific theme. As a recommendation, use names that do not refer to color, for example, form background. Now in the application class, we look at Action Tint Color and make reference to a name of the palette, Titles Color. Also, we can enter and select a color from the palette. And we save. Now we select a platform, any Android, and associate the theme. So we select GX28 Android 4. In this case, it'll be the same for all the Android platforms. We do the same in any iOS, selecting GX28 iOS. Before running it, we're going to change in the Event Day object, in the menu for smart devices, the property Android Base Style, and use light instead of light with dark action bar. This will give us the effect we're looking for in the application. Let's run the app, and wait a minute. Well, we already have the application installed in the emulator. There's a change in the red color, that tone of red in the application bar. And, for example, the actions have taken the action tint color. Let's look at Uruguay. Here's the property tab strip in this green tone. There's no specific color because it takes the default value of the platform. So, this is the end of the demo. Let's continue with the following topics. Let's look at some aspects of the images. Here we have the application icon. Note that we've created a single object of image type in the KB, which we've called GX28 Icon Android. Inside them, we've entered each file with the image the designer sent us, with the possibility to make changes by theme, density, and language. In this case, in the main object of the app, we simply configure this image object and, depending on the platform and resolution of the device, the corresponding image will be used. To add the different versions of the same image, we have two options. The first one is to create a new image and then manually add the other versions with the new image option and configure the corresponding densities for each one. The other option is to import the images from a zip file. In this case, the images must be organized within the zip file as shown in the image example_icon.zip. There must be an Android folder, and then for each density, a folder with the corresponding image. Next, we create a new image using the option Create Image from File. We'll select the zip file, in our case, example_icon.zip, and press the End button. The result is the one we see in this image on the right, where all the densities are automatically configured when importing the zip file. Keep this feature in mind when requesting images from the designer, who can already provide them organized in a way that allows you to easily import them to the knowledge base, thus saving you a lot of time. So, let's go over what we've just seen. Remember that we must have the launch images for the portrait and landscape orientations and the application icon, which are set in the properties of the main object, possibly a menu, as in the case of our application, as we see here. For Android, we need at least Android application icon, Android portrait launch image, and Android landscape launch image. For Apple, we just need to enter Apple application icon and Apple launch image. So, these were some of the most important features related to the theme object, image treatment, and platform configuration. During the rest of the course, we will present some classes and specific properties of smart device development. Also, you can find more information about these topics in the GeneXus Wiki.